What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Muscle, and this is another Two Line Music Cuts Entertainment Report podcast. And today we have a really special guest in the building. Listen, when it comes to sound systems, this is one of the biggest sound systems to ever come out of the UK. Listen, when it comes to the culture in the UK, this lady here is definitely a culture mover and a culture shaker. You know, we have in the building today, we have Lady V, the queen of culture, representing V Rocket, the only sound that goes to the moon. What's going on, Queen?
Enough respect, Muscle. And big up to all the listeners out there. Enough respect every time.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Entertainment Report podcast today.
And thank you so much for having us.
Definitely, because you see, V Rocket is a sound that I really want to get into, because us here, especially from a Canadian point of view, we heard about the sound, but now we really get to get it in depth here of what's going on with the song. And even you as a promoter, manager, owner, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So we're going to talk today, right?
All right. Okay, great.
All right. So my first question is this. Where did you grow up in Jamaica, and what type of child were you?
Well, I was born in Spanish Town, Jamaica, and I came to the UK to join my late parents, 1966.
66.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you grew up mostly in the UK.
Mostly in the UK. I came to the UK at a fairly young age, 6 going into 7.
Mm-hmm. All right. And what type of child were you growing up then?
Well, I grew up mainly with my brothers. My sisters left home at a relatively early age, set up their own home.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up mainly with my brothers, my parents, and their school friends.
Right there. And what were you as a child? What do you think you were going to become? Were you think you were going to become a doctor, a lawyer? You're going to follow some music? What do you think you were going to get into?
At a young age, I wanted to travel and to be an air hostess. I wanted to study languages and to be able to go all over the world. So music wasn't even a part of the plan. Although when I came to the UK, I came to find my parents with a 50-watt sound system that was entertaining the local community. Back in those days, Muscle, I'll set the pace and let you know how it was then. So back in those days, Black people wasn't allowed to go into venues. So they had to create their own entertainment with that Windrush generation that came to the UK in the early 60s. So at the weekends, they used to have what we call blues parties, house parties. They used to do dominoes and ludi and all the things that we would do back home that used to happen at the house growing up. So, you know, they used to cook food and sell food. So people would come, they'd buy their food, they'd stop off, they'd play some dominoes, they'd play some cards. And that's the environment I grew up as a young girl. And like I said, my sisters had left home. So it was predominantly, apart from my mom and dad, it was predominantly a lot of males that I grew up amongst.
So when did you actually start to, because you said your parents are playing music and having the parties and stuff. So when did the music start to seep into you now, where you started to really pay attention to the music now?
Well, I always paid attention because music was a part of our everyday settings. But it wasn't until I left school and waiting to go to college, my brothers and their school friends with the sound had started to grow and get bigger from back in the earlier days. And they used to come in and they would complain that they've either not been paid or things wasn't quite organized as how they really wanted it to be. So I used to be really sort of an uptown person that had got, was on a different kind of scene. And I said, look, I'm waiting to go to college. Let me be the agent. I'll take the bookings and I'll start dealing with things for you guys. I was the youngest of everybody at the time, but that's, I think, where the changes began and when I got involved. So I started to take the bookings and I started to sow the seeds where I went to Jamaica and started to build up a relationship with Jamaica, with the artists, them, with the studios. That time it was Channel One, Maxfield Avenue, who Kim and his brothers. Squingy, the late Squingy, was the engineer at that time. And I was meeting, sound systems from back in those days. And that's where my input really started until I started to actually promote events and doing our own events. And that's when I became a part of V Rocket.
From there, so even like say the trip to even Jamaica now to Channel One, did you have a link to Channel One, or you just decided this is where I'm going to go and this is where we're going to hit the ground running and try to get some music from there?
Well, at the time I didn't have a link. I went to Jamaica, but my dad, he used to be in Jamaica regularly, so all our 45s and disco 45s and those kind of songs, the pre-releases, they was already flowing. He used to make sure we was getting those tunes, those songs on a regular basis. When I went over to Jamaica, Channel One was the studio that was running things, so it was the place to be. Tommy's had his studio over in Firehouse. It was little before King Jammys came on the scene, so it was the studio for me to be at. So, King Stereograph and John Love and those sounds was running the place at the time. Ranking Joe and Just Crew. Those was the guys that I met up with and sort of helped me in that direction. So that's the first studio that I really started to cut dubs from the Channel One Maxfield Avenue.
Do you remember some of the dubs that you actually brought back to the UK? Because remember, at that time there, now, if a sound's going to Jamaica and bringing back the dubs, bringing back the music and stuff, you're very exclusive. You have a lot of fresh stuff on the block. Do you remember some of the first dubs that you were cutting back then?
Well, it's a long time, but even back in those days, sometimes it wasn't just about dub plates that had the name V Rocket in there. It would be maybe dub plates that was mixed completely different, one-away mixes. So, people tend to think that dub plates are songs that has the sound names in it. Those days, it wasn't necessarily so. Mm-hmm. It was a case where you would get songs that wasn't released yet, and it would be mixed completely different to the mix that would eventually hit the streets. So, back in those days, it's so long ago, early days dubs, the old brain it's a bit old for me now. So,
no problem.
Days dubs, them, I can't even remember. It's so long ago.
Mm-hmm. So then you came back to the UK then. So then what was V Rocket a big song at that time there, or you guys were on the rise when you guys came back, when you came back from Channel One?
No, we was on the rise. We was relatively, we're based in Nottingham, country sound. We was on the rise. There was bigger sounds. Those days, there was the Sir Coxsones, there was the Quaker Cities, there was the Mafia Tones. Those was the giants of the UK those days. So we was on the rise. We were the selectors at the time. I teamed up with Parliament and Ruben, they're brothers. That's still a part of the sound now. Mm-hmm. And they had left their youth sound to be on the bigger sound. My brother brought them over from their youth sound to V Rocket. So we was on the rise then. We was on the rise. So we was making a route for ourselves. We was on that path where we was growing in status. So as far as Nottingham was concerned, certainly we was the main sound in Nottingham, but we hadn't really stamped our mark, so to speak. It wasn't until further on as things progressed and we started to become more competitive and started to travel outside of Nottingham, Midlands wise, London, that the status really grew.
All right. So I guess Nottingham at this time here, you guys would be considered the country sound. So I guess the town sounds would be like sounds from like London and those places there.
Absolutely.
When did you guys actually?
Soprano B, the Unis, those was the sounds, Sir E's. And then you would have obviously the sounds then from Birmingham, like I mentioned earlier on. Those was the sounds, Sir Christopher, those was the sounds at the time that was really the big sounds when I first got involved with V-Rocket.
Mm-hmm. Who would you say was the first bigger songs you guys had to actually tackle to start making a name for yourself?
Well, I remember one night we had to in a famous venue over in Leicester, it's just down the road from Nottingham, where we was playing Quaker City and Mafia Toll. Quaker City had one of the, if not the best playing sound system at the time in the UK. So back in those days, it wasn't like now. Every sound, when you went to play, you had to have your own sound. So Quaker City had a phenomenal sound system. Mafia Tone had a great sound system as well, but musically, amazing. So that night was an absolute calling for us, both sound system wise and also musically. But you know, we went with what we had. You have to start from somewhere. You have to experience getting to top and kick to improve. And that was one of the changes for us, you know, making sure that our sound system can sound like a Quaker City and make sure the levels of music can be on the levels of a sound like Mafia Tone and sounds like Sir Coxsone. To be honest, growing up, we wanted to be a Sir Coxsone because that was the sound that we looked up to as the sound that we wanted to be like.
When did you guys get involved with Saxon now?
Well, Saxon came on the scene after some of those sounds that I've mentioned. I think one of the first dance, year-wise, I wouldn't remember the year. I was in Jamaica. I went over to cut some dubs. And Jamaica was my second home. And I used to be there so regular. I was on and off planes all the time. So I would fly to New Jersey to Chansco. I would pick up my blank dub plates, 25 in a box, maybe 2, 3, 4 boxes. Some I would bring for King Jammys. By this time, we developed a relationship with King Jammys. Jammys had his own studio now. Squingy had moved from Channel 1 and had gone over to Jammys. And of course, the late, great Bobby Digital. So I found a really good relationship. Many people may not know, but King Jammys had a brother that lived in Nottingham. And as families, nieces and such in the UK, based right here in our city. Okay. So one of the first dances with Saxon was at a venue called the Rock City. And I'd traveled to Jamaica. I didn't get back for the clash, but it was an absolute roadblock. Both, just the two sounds, both sounds on their own equipment, and it was a phenomenal night. That was the first, if I remember correctly, the rivalry had started with Saxon and V-Rocket.
Mm-hmm. Who would you say won the first night?
During those times, is DJs and entertainers they had come with the new style. So it wasn't going to be, although it was in our own backyard, it wasn't going to be easy because Tipper Irie, Philip Levi, and all those guys, they was on top of their game. No joke about it. They was on top of their game, so it wasn't going to be easy. Like I said, I wasn't at the dance. Our guys held their own. They did extremely well. But, you know, the fact of the matter is those guys was on their A game. So, you know, again, it was experience. And my guys learned from that first night.
Good, right there. So you say even the link with King Jammys now. So it really came from UK, from his brother, and then that's how you connected with Jammys in Jamaica?
Well, the first time I met with King Jammys, my mum and dad kept a street party. It was a jubilee.
Mm-hmm.
The first Queen Jubilee that was held in the UK. That I was present at, and the Jammys was in the UK at the time, and he came to the street party. That's when I believe I first met him. And it started from there, really.
Then you went down there, and then now you're the one cutting the dubs and stuff. And how was it now as a female in the trenches in Waterhouse? You're going in, cutting the dubs, rubbing shoulders with the mandem and stuff. How was that now for you?
You know what, Muscle? Amazing. It wasn't easy. The relationship that I formed with Jammys, it was like we was the UK Jammys. There was two sounds in the UK that Jammys took under his wings, and all his productions. First, the minute they recorded and they pressed, even sometime before they pressed, we would get them ourselves on a sound called Unity. So going to Jamaica and as a female, it was fascinating for a lot of the artists that I used to voice at the time. Many of Jammys, Admiral Bailey, Hugh Griffiths, Little John, Pliers, Beanie Man at his young days, Riska Benji. So many that I can mention. Colonel Josie Wells, Ninja Man. I formed a relationship with many of those. I remember one trip I went, Ninja turned up and he said, go get 6 black dub plate from Jammys. And he just filled them. You know, at the time you would have the vocal and then the rhythm, the flip side of the vocal. He filled the 6 dubs. So when it comes to artists like Ninja Man, for instance, we have crazy amount of tracks from him. Those are the kind of relationship that, you know, to go and voice as a female, it was unique. Oris Andy, all the veterans, Shabba. And I could keep naming names and sounds, and it got to the stage where I started to bring some of those artists to the UK to perform on V-Rocket, and would spend weeks, maybe in some cases months, working on the sound as a part of the DJs. If you've seen the documentary, you'll see that Lecturer became one of V-Rocket's DJs. One of the singers was Robert Lee. And I was responsible for bringing up quite a few of Jammys artists. We did a tour with King Jammys, where we brought the full crew, Riska Benji, Gregory Peck, all of those artists. We brought them to all of the UK, and those dances, all the shows we had to lock people out. People just couldn't get in. So, you know, that's the relationship that we had with Jammys, and me cutting artists that was based around. And if you remember those days, artists used to hang out at the studios. Nowadays, you maybe have to call them up and you meet them at the studio. Those days, it was a hangout thing. So, you know, our DJs and singers used to be just sat round it. So you'd be trying to voice dub plates, and you still have other artists singing and DJing because they want a piece of the action. So it was unique. It was something different.
It was a good vibes there. So even from the UK based now, who were some of your artists based on the song UK wise? Not none of the ones that you had brought up, some of the UK artists.
Well, from the UK, we had a DJ. He was predominantly the DJ during my time, Scrapey Banton. Scrapey started on the sound at an extremely young age. Scrapey was 14 going into 15. He didn't want to go to school because he was so much in love with the music. And we used to say to him, you can't be on the sound, Scrapey, if you don't go to school.
Mhm.
You can't be hanging around during the day when you're supposed to be at school. So eventually, between myself and Parliament, we got him to go to school. He did spend a few years in Jamaica, came back to the UK at a very young age. Scrapey decided to go to school because without going to school, he had no chance of being a part of the sound. So Scrapey was one of the DJs. My brother Rankin, he used to DJ on the sound in the early parts as well. And some of the, younger guys, Daddy Wolf, Slab Eye, and some of the younger guys then before we started to bring in DJs from overseas.
And that was like Penny Irie and those guys that you brought in.
Penny Irie, Teacher Desi, Edgington, Lecturer, Robert Lee, and others that would come and spend some time with us and work on the sound until, they would probably come do a 6 months. We may extend them for another 6 months if we could. And that's what it was. Mm-hmm. Super Black. He spent maybe a good year and a half in the UK with us. So, yeah.
Because I know another super pivotal moment, and I know this is the first, who was when you guys actually took the sound to Jamaica and went on that 3-month tour there. This is not just the music, the actual sound system. Why did you guys? How did you guys even come up with that? And was this after Race and Bell brought their sound to the UK?
Well, we used to have meetings, Muscle, at the beginning of the year. Every January, I would sit with the guys and I would say to them, "What's the plan for the year? What do we want to achieve this year?" And because the majority of them are born here in the UK, I thought it would be a great idea for them to go and see where it all began. So I suggested we do some fundraising, save whatever we get in for the sound, and make a trip to Jamaica. But we're going to take the equipment, all of the equipment, sound system, amplifiers, generator, everything. And we started the project until the time came that we said, right, we think we've got enough funds to buy the tickets, to ship the sound out. My dad used to deal with a shipping company called Transpac. And he used to ship his barrels and crates over to Jamaica. And we contacted them. They said they could look after the shipping. And the day came where, right, we're going to ship the equipment off ahead of us because it would take time for it to get there. And then we would fly over and do a Jamaica tour and for a 3-month period. And that was the changing game for V-Rocket. That was a game changer.
You're on the ground now. What was the first? Do you remember some of the early dances you guys played now that you guys are on the ground in Jamaica?
Yes, we did Grange Hill, we did the Grill, we did Spanish Town, we did Jackshill, we did Walton Park area, where inner city, at the back of where Wally inner city had his shop.
Okay.
So we did a number of dates, 3 months, and obviously we was based in Old Harbour Bay, so we did a lot of night sound dates. So it was a full 3 months where we was able to do events that we left the earnings for the community centre of Jackshill, um, and other charitable enterprise that was over there, Maxwell Park Children Home, and those things. So yeah, we did quite a lot of artists was able to pass through that. That's when we met people like Teacher Desi and Edgington and Penny Irie. And it was after that we invited them to come to the UK, um, as gratitude for them working on the sound while I was in Jamaica.
Were you guys playing with sounds too, or was mostly just artists singing on the song at that time there?
It was mainly artists passing through and working on the sound. Jackie Knockshot, um, Brigadier's got a young son that was powering with the sound at the time. Um, Skyfish Jr. There was Courtney Melody. Um, Quite a lot of different artists that had passed through. Cockatee that had passed through and worked on the sound while I was there.
Hmm. Big right there. So then now you guys did your 3 months. So then now you guys have the real Jamaica vibes, because you said a lot of the people that were on the song, they're born in the UK. So then now you guys are bringing back this energy back to the UK. What was that energy like now when you guys got back to the UK after this crazy tour?
While the vibes was hot. Like I said, it was a game changer. There is a venue in Nottingham called the Marcus Garvey Centre, that we played a lot. So the management for that centre booked us for 4 weeks solid,
Mm.
which was very smart. So the first week was going to be V Rocket by themselves. Um, we did that night. There was about 700-800 people that turned up, and obviously lots of the sounds was there because they wanted to see what's the latest songs, what was new, what we'd brought back. And then obviously we had competition for the following 3 weeks. So there was a class set up with us in Unity. There was one with us in Coxsone, and I believe there was one with us in Java. And so coming back from Jamaica, the bookings was coming in quick and fast. And obviously there was clashes with Saxon, um, and many of the sounds around the country. We was all over the UK. It was our time, so to speak. It was V Rocket's time. Was our time. We'd got back from Jamaica. All the promoters wanted to have a piece of V Rocket, so we was very active. And then we was bringing in these guys, and it was this Jamaica flavor. So the sound didn't have that UK sounding vibes. It was like a sound, a Jamaica sound that was based in the UK. So it had that really hard vibe.
That vibe there. There's two sounds that you mentioned. First one was Unity, because remember you said Unity and King Jammys, and you and Jammys had linked. What was that clashing now? A sound that's basically has a lot of the same similarities like you, and then even now Coxsone, now the sound that you guys looked up to. What were those two clashes like in particular?
Well, when we speak about unity, I mean, a lot of people mainly remember the rivalry with us and Saxon, because if us and Saxon played, even if it was a weekday, um, it would be a roadblock.
Mhm.
But for me personally, I used to think that all these clashes used to be with unity
Okay.
because we was out of the same stable. Although we were still cutting songs from Tubby's, right? We was both from the same stable. Their equipment wise wasn't as big as V Rocket, but they had a really good quality sound. and they had some really good DJs from London, Demon Rockers, Fleet of Badman, Specky Ranks, and those guys. Those guys was very good. And Ribs Robert, excellent selector. So when we came up with against a sound like Unity, right, the work was much harder because we're coming from the same camp. So it's who would be able to produce and present and play equipment wise on the night. So those dances was always very close. But I'll say this, Muscle. The second week when we got back from Jamaica in 1987, the dance that we had at the Marcus Garvey Center with Unity, he knew he was never going to win that clash. Not only was up against the new stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but he was up against these new DJs that had that yard vibes, that yard flavor. Again, it was a roadblock dance at the Marcus Garvey Center. Unity played and created a great vibes. But the response when V-Rocket came on, partway through our play, what did Unity do? Switch his sound on at the same time that we was playing and mash up the dance. And at the end of the thing said, "Why, I'm sorry about Miranda mash up the dance and take a killer." So that was the kind of experience we used to have with Unity. As with Sir Coxsone now, it was our time. Back in those days, right? It was a schooling for us. It was an education for us. But we've got to the position, we've got to the place now where things is different. We more experienced. We're getting the songs because at that time, King Jammys was the studio that was producing all the big songs. So we was the sound that was getting them, not Sir Coxsone. So when Coxsone came up at V-Rocket, the tide had changed.
Mm.
They had to accept for them thump now. Because we was thumping hard. We was kicking hard muscle them times then. So, many times we would either in London or Birmingham or wherever, in Nottingham, and it was a no-brainer, right? We had to get our recognition because we was doing damage.
Crazy. And then now, Saxon. Now, did you guys ever clash Saxon in London or in their yard?
Yes, we clashed Saxon. The last clash we clashed Saxon a number of times.
Mhm.
The last clash we clashed Saxon was in Cricklewood in London. And again, if you watch the documentary on a neutral basis, you will hear comments about it. Lecture was on fire that night. They had their team, we had our team, and it was in their backyard. So they had a lot of fans. We brought our fans out too, but the good thing was that yard vibe that V-Rocket has made a difference. And so that night, I can safely say we had the upper hand.
Mhm.
That was that Kilburn dance in London. A lot of the clashes, there was good nights for Saxon and not so good for us, and there was good nights for V-Rocket and not so good for them. And that's what makes a rivalry.
Why was the rivalry so hot between the two songs? And you guys are from two totally different places. What was the synergy that made this so wicked between the two of you guys?
It was the two sounds at the time. We from out of the Midlands and Saxon from out of London. And at the time, it was the two baddest sound.
Mm-hmm.
Saxon was came on the scene with their DJs in the style, and we had our DJs and we had our style. So we based in the Midlands, and they're based in London, and it was just something, Muscle, where Anytime the two sounds buck up, music quality, 100%. Entertainment with the DJs and singers, 100%. Sound wise, it was any promoter that had V Rocket and Saxon at the full package. So that's why the rivalry was there. And at for over that period of years that the rivalry existed, it was the two sounds. We was the best in the Midlands, right? And at the time, they was the best in London. So the competition was fierce. It was clashes that every soundman have to attend, because if you want to hear music on the night and lyrics, that there would be the clash that you would need to be at.
That right there, big. And I think I remember this might be another big dance with V Rocket and Stone Love. And I think Clement Irie was on Stone Love and Lecturer was on V Rocket. You remember that dance?
Big dance. It was a Monday night at the Marcus Garvey Center, Muscle. And Clement Irie had got his big tune at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Rory traveled to do shows in the UK. And again, we had Lecturer and a number of the other DJs, Penny Irie, Teacher Desi, Edgington, Scraper Banton, and our Mixer Wolf, which he played a great part. Ruben, the selector, Parliament, the operator. So the team was there. Rory had come in and the dance was set. It was a Monday night. Again, it was a great turnout. And it was a head-to-head, round for round, tune for tune. And the end of that night, Rory said, no way, I need a rematch straight away. And obviously, I used to see Clement Irie run at Jammys all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I went, Clement Irie was based at round at Jammys. And although he used to see me cutting tons of dubs, he didn't realize how good the sound was until he came to the UK. So at the end of that clash, there was no competition, no disrespect to Clement, right? He had this big tune, but the guys then, they was outnumbered, so to speak, because we had much more DJs working that night. So they asked us for a rematch. And that rematch was in Silver Sands in a town called Huddersfield, about 2 weeks after, 2 weeks promotion. And listen,
mm-hmm.
road block. No joke.
Mm-hmm.
And when we signed on with a Frankie Paul.
Mm-hmm.
In Nottingham there lives a sound who plays the brightest dubs. V Rocket. Rory will tell you, when we signed on, he said, so we did again. So, and after that, he said he would never travel to the UK and leave his dub plate selection.
Mm-hmm.
He always talks about those two dances. I think he mentioned that clash in the documentary, actually.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Was there another song that came up from Jamaica that you guys had to really put it on at that time there also?
Oh, we used to play all the sounds that used to come up. I remember St. Marcus Garvey Center, we had a clash with Killamanjaro.
Okay.
Bonnie General was on Jaro. Ninja Man was on Jaro. But me and Ninja was like this. So it was very difficult for them to really come at us because of the respect, so to speak. So again, it was one of those nights. Lecturer was on the sound. Those dances are legendary, Muscle. Those clashes are real memorable dances. So all the sounds there, Bodyguard. I remember a night we played Bodyguard. We played Bodyguard in Leicester. iconic dance. This is how we earned our Super Cat dubs from back in those days. And we're going many years back. Early B the Duck, Ninja Man. All those guys was on Bodyguard that night. And Tiger was performing on that show. But he was going to be performing on stage.
Mhm.
Right? So we had our team. And Bodyguard played the Ninja Man, Gone Up a Moon. But Ninja Man had already designed that song long before then.
Mhm.
V-Rocket. He wrote that song for us. So when Bodyguard played it, right, and we came on, and the Inja said, only one song go to the moon and back on a V-Rocket. And we dropped the dub, right? I remember Johnny coming over and saying, are we recording the dance? Make sure it's recorded, because when the dance finish, I want a copy of it. And I remember when the dance, during the dance, the vibe was so hot that Tiger didn't even wait for the stage show. He just took the mic, our mic, right? And say, rock bottom. Everything we say, rock bottom. Rock bottom was a store in Jamaica that used to sell cheap things.
Mhm.
And the man just mashed up the place. So the Monday,
Mhm.
we was at home and the phone rang. And it was a brethren that was parring with Cat and the promoters. I think, if I remember rightly, I think it was Specialist that get that dance.
Okay.
And the question was, did we want some Super Cat? So we earned our Super Cats by the performance at that dance.
That's wild right there.
And one of those Super Cats. I'm not saying no other sound has got it myself.
Mhm.
But we've never heard another sound. I'm not even going to say which it is. But yes, I've never heard a sound play that particular Super Cat.
Mhm. Did Super Cat ever DJ live on V-Rocket?
It may have.
Okay, let me jog your memory.
Well, it's because so many sounds, so many DJs at the time that was coming into the UK would have touched the mic.
Okay. There was a tour in the UK, I remember, with Supercat and Nicodemus. They DJ'd on Saxon, Coxsone, Unity, a couple more songs when they're in the UK, but I'm not sure if they DJ'd on V-Rocket in that tour there.
I can't remember if they DJ'd on the tour. I remember when they came. May not have.
Mhm.
May not have. But people like Shabba, definitely. And many of those big giants.
Mhm. Crazy. You guys are doing crazy stuff in the UK. Did you guys actually start to travel to the US or Canada or anywhere else and play also at that time?
We played. Shin invited us at one of the World Clash. I can remember it was a double night. I think it was the only time that he did a double night. It was the Saturday was the World Clash, and then the Sunday was a 45 shootout. So people who bought their tickets would be a weekend ticket, so to speak. So the Sunday, we early juggled, but we wasn't allowed to play any 45 at all. And people's always asked for that audio.
Mhm.
But I don't think Chin would take that audio.
Mhm.
So we played the best of 3 to nearly 4 hours of dub plates.
Right.
It was a time when Sizzler had just done the Real Thing album for Bobby Digital.
Mhm.
And so a lot of those a lot of those dubs, we just read some crazy sizzlers that night.
And that audio is nowhere. That it's just one of those kind of things where you had to be there. If you were there, you got it. If not, just whatever.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. Because Chin did contact me and said that, people was asking for the early juggling of the. I remember the night very well because a lot of the sounds that was performing was, in fact, they were saying that the sound that had represented the UK the night before on the Clash, why wasn't it V-Rocket that represented? But, it's what it is.
Mm-hmm. It's all good. So then now with even your promotion, Reggae Girls, when did you start Reggae Girls, in the 90s or in the 2000s?
2000s.
In the two, okay, so then I don't even want to get there yet. So even in the 90s, did you guys come to Canada in the 90s at all?
No, we've never played in Canada. We've been to two of the clashes in Canada, but we've never performed in Canada. We've done America. We did Florida. We've done Gambia. We've done Jamaica, as you know. We've done all of Europe, and obviously all of the UK constantly.
Yeah. Any reason why you guys haven't been to Canada before?
No, not particularly. We're still waiting for the promoters to give me a ring to invite us.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully they'll see this now and they'll know that, okay, V-Rocket, this is an exclusive. V-Rocket has never been here, ladies and gentlemen. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Okay.
Crazy. So then, okay, because you've been promoting from in the early 90s, you said, as a promoter.
Yes, my first, one of my very first promotion was actually with Rodigan.
Okay.
I was speaking to him nearly 2 weeks ago, going down memory lane because, we go back a long time. So one of my early promoters, way back in the days was with Rodigan. So before Reggae Girls, I did start doing a lot of events, a lot of stage shows, crazy amount of stage shows. So many artists, Marcia Griffiths, John Oates, so many. We've done shows with, like I said, Shaba. We've done shows with Frankie Paul. I could just keep naming.
Okay. Give me two of your most memorable concerts, good, bad, or indifferent, that you'll never forget. Doing all of these shows, but two that sticks out in your mind forever.
If are we talking stage shows or sound?
Let's go with, okay, let's give me one of each.
Okay, well, if we're speaking about sound system, then obviously UK Cup Clash Series.
Hold on. I don't want to get to UK Cup because that's another destination. I got some questions there. Let's go back to artists then.
All right, let's go back to artists. Oh, wow. This is an odd one. Are we talking past or are we talking past and present?
Choice is yours.
That's an hard one.
Yeah. They stick out in your mind forever. These shows, for whatever reason, they stick out in your mind.
Wow. Okay, so maybe because one of them, can I have two? Or
of course you can. Yeah, of course. Listen, we're here to talk. Of course you can.
All right. Why I have to put this one at the very top? Mm-hmm. It's because I'm the first person to put this artist on a stage show. And considering he's hailed from Not because he's from Saxon, because he used to work on Saxon, but I would say he's one of the biggest artists as a UK artist. And he had maybe 2 songs at the time, but I saw the talent there, and I don't know how I was going to do it, but I did it, and it was Maxi Priest.
I knew you were going to say it.
It has to be the most memorable because for a number of reasons. Maxi didn't think it was going to be a big show. It was a female that had approached him. It was going to be a band show.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have an awful lot of songs. Like I said, he had a song with Philip Levi, The God McKay. He had a combination song with Philip, and he did Strolling On at the time. And big venue in Nottingham, iconic venue, the Pally, 2 floors. Those days, body popping and breakdancing was in. So doors was going to open. It was one of the very first all-nighters. So doors open. You don't really get... We know nowadays people come out late. Back in those days, that wasn't the case. So doors open at midnight until 8 o'clock in the morning. That was the time. And this dance was in the heart of the city center, the town center. So it was Maxi Priest with his band. Maxi bought a coach with his family for support because we realized by now, he came to Nottingham for a radio interview. Those days it was legal station, so it was radio, BBC Radio Nottingham. And he could see these big street posters on the streets with his name. And this is his first show. So he's thinking, this can't be no joke thing. This has got to be something serious. And Unity was on the dance. It was such a big dance that I didn't even book V-Rocket on that dance because we needed the manpower for that dance. So we had Wassifer Showcase from Birmingham, and they had a DJ at the time that, again, was creating a storm in the Midlands, Maccabee. So we had Unity from London, we had Maccabee from Birmingham, Maxi Priest on stage with his band, and downstairs we had a soul DJ, an R&B, and a body puppet competition. And there was coaches from all over the country. The queue went around the block. Around the block. There's so many dances that I've done that I could speak about, but that one is memorable.
For sure.
Current day, I would say 2016, I did a dance called Full 100. That dance was important to me, Muscle, because I wanted to not just have a package that involved just like the mature ravers. I wanted a package that included the mature ravers and the younger ravers, so everybody would be under one roof. Capacity is like 3,000, and it was Taurus Riley. It was Assassin and Spice. But what I did was change it up. So we had, it was 5 performers, so to speak. So the stage show actually consisted of those 3 artists, but I also had Mighty Crown and Metro Media. But it wasn't a case where the 2 sounds was going to be playing during the intermission. They was a part of the stage show. So after the early juggling by my sound, right, Metro Media opened the stage show with a half an hour set. So he's performing on stage as an artist. And then one of the artists comes in, then Mighty Crown, then Sasco, and then Taurus closed the show with Dean Fraser and the Black Soil Band. Amazing.
Crazy. You know what I mean? The impact you have, that's why now I understand why they call you the queen of culture.
It's a way of life.
Because what?
It's a way of life. It's a part of my life. It's, you know, the culture is a way of life. Way of life.
Definitely get it. With Thinger, I want to get into Reggae Girls at UK, because this is another legacy that's been this brand, you know, right across the globe. And to sit down and speak with the lady that invented this, I really want to hear how you came up with Reggae Girls and the UK Cup Clash.
So again, what had happened was the clash scene had slowed down. Mm-hmm. A lot of those events that we've spoken about was not happening so much. The scene had changed.
Okay.
The double decks had come in. The one changer was no more. Well, when I say no more, not everybody had stopped using their one, because you have the sound system, the rubber dub sounds, the Shaka and those guys, they never stopped with their one changer. But the double decks had come in, the juggling had come in. There wasn't so much live DJs and singers on the sounds anymore. The transition had been made. So there were so many stage shows going on that it had got well over 10, 12, 13, 15 years that the UK wasn't experiencing any clashes.
Okay.
Especially big clashes. So I decided that I actually did a show with Elephant Man, Captain Barkey, Wicker Man, Wayne Marshall, and a few other artists. Mm-hmm. That didn't go as well as I'd hoped. And I just sat down one day and just thought, you know what? I grew up in the sound system thing, and I'm going to bring back clashes. Some things that's not happening. I want to just do something different and bring back the clash scene. Well, I want to bring it back on a different level. Mm-hmm. So one of the guys that is a part of the sound, Java, he came to me one day and he said to me, he came with a cassette, and he said to me, Lady V, more you listen to the cassette, you know. It's a sound from Japan named Mighty Crown. Listen to them. So I took the cassette and I listened to the cassette, and it was the first time I was going to hear anything of Mighty Crown. First time I was going to hear that they existed was this cassette. And I thought, wow, these guys are different flavor. Mm-hmm. Japanese playing reggae music and was playing it on this kind of level. So I decided to come with this brand called, and this is how I created Reggae Girls. So it's not that it's a brand that has many females. I'm the female of it, but it's still under the umbrella of V-Rocket.
Got you.
So I managed to find out who was dealing with their bookings, and I contacted Chin. Now, the first date that Mighty Crown was going to do in the UK actually got cancelled. The venue, I believe, that we was going to use in London was closed down. So we rescheduled. I got back to Chin and says, look, we're not going to bring Mighty Crown for a juggling dance. We'll renegotiate the price. And I would like to bring them up for a thing that I'm doing called UK Cup Clash. This was 2022, but I was going to start it in Nottingham, in my own town, which I thought would have been much easier for me to promote. So this is how Reggae Girls came about. This was 2022, Mighty Crown, Love Injection, David Rodigan, and a sound from Sheffield called Willpower.
Mm.
And it was going to be the first clash after many, many years. Big clash. And it was an absolute roadblock. Sold out from one end of from the stage to the back of the venue, a full house. It was long overdue. And so 2003, the venue would have been too small. So I decided I want to make it global and put it on a global platform. So I moved it to London and teamed up with Authentic Real Music. They got their feet on the ground in London. So by doing that, they would be able to partly look after the London promotion while I took care of everywhere else. So we moved it to London 2003 and introduced more. Instead of having 3 UK sounds, we would just have 1 UK sound at the time and bring in more international sounds. And that's how Reggae Girls came about and UK.
Listen, there's 4 years. How long did you do UK Clash for?
I think we did about 8 years, and then I rested it for about maybe a couple of years, and then I did one that wasn't at the Stratford Rex. We did that at the Troxys.
Mm-hmm. There's 4 of them in my mind that I'll never forget out of the UK, because when it came to the UK Cup Clash, whenever you watch those videos and you see the energy coming from the UK, it was always crazy, crazy, crazy. One of my favorite and most memorable ones is a 2005. This is the one where Bass Odyssey was leading this dance.
Oh, wow.
All right?
Oh, wow.
You remember this one?
Oh, well, I know where you're gonna. And yes, you told them about it, Muscle. I remember this one.
Bass
I
Odyssey's
always talk
leading.
about it.
Mm-hmm. This is the one where Bass Odyssey's leading, and then there was a no swearing round. And before Bass Odyssey could play a song, Squingy started to cuss, and Ninja Man took away the mic. Finish off the story from there and tell us what really happened that we did not see.
Okay, so what happened was, I believe that sounds should be able to get forwards without having to say anything derogative. Mm-hmm. So I always made in the rule that there was a round that it's a no swearing round. Mm-hmm. And it would normally be the 45 round, right? So I got Ninja to host the clash that year. That you've chosen a fantastic year, because that year was phenomenal. Ninja did an absolute fantastic job. Mm-hmm. He came out in his Japanese outfit, and I remember him saying, "You see the round, yeah? And if your shoes in lean, if you cuss a bad word, you're gone." Mm. He won them. So Squingy, as you said, he was leading every single round, hands down. And he came out and he said, "A 45, the man, them a player. And not even 45, them can do." And when that word came out, the whole 3,000 people just gasped. And you know what? I had to console him. Squingy went around the back, away from everybody, mm-hmm. and he cried. Muscle, he cried, living eye water, because he'd let himself down, he'd let the sound down, and more than anything else, he'd let his fans down. Mm-hmm. And we would never forget that clash. And that was one of the iconic clashes of the UK, because there was no way he was going to lose that clash.
It was so crazy. And then the first, you didn't even play a song. You started, I don't know what he was thinking. It's just right away. He started with the cussing without a song. They were eliminated. No song played.
No song play. And I tell you what, he didn't play the song. He didn't play a song in that round. He just swore and totally forgot.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happened to Panther, Black Cat, in 2003 at Oceans in Acme. He swore, but Panther was the underdog because Panther hadn't clashed. Black Cat hadn't clashed for quite a few years. I bought him out of sort of semi-retirement, and the fans had just fallen in love with him that night, and he was on his way to victory, and he swore, and the crowd didn't want him disqualified, and the rest of the sounds gave him a leeway, and he was able to stay in the clash, but he swore again. And then that was it for him. He got eliminated. And it was when he came back, 2004, right? He couldn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. They waited for him, they supported him, and he won 2004 clash. And then Squingy made the same mistake 2005 that gave away the clash.
Crazy. But then they came back 05. No, they came back in 06 and completely decimated. This wasn't Squingy though. This was Worm, and it was Bass Odyssey and Trooper in Tune for Tune, and that's where Bass Odyssey won.
Yeah, they over the series of UK Cup Clash, hands down, Bass Odyssey has won the most. Mm-hmm. By far. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're that type of sound, you know. And the thing you would like with it too, V Rocket is considered a country sound. Bass Odyssey with Squingy, they're the country sound. So it feels good that the country sound is actually winning.
Yes. Well, you know, the one thing with UK Cup Clash, apart from the year that I think there was 2 years that I would say controversy. Was one where Rodigan played the Tenorsaur in the 1-for-1 against Bass Odyssey, and Bass Odyssey played the Jimmy Cliff, which people now know wasn't real. Mm-hmm. So Rodigan, the gentleman that he is, the vote was close, right? But Muscle, I would say that Rodigan edged that vote, in my opinion, mm-hmm. and in other people's opinion. But that vote should never have been done over. But Rodigan said, "Okay, do the vote over," and they eventually gave it to Bass Odyssey. Mm-hmm. So that night, I would say that little controversy, but to be honest, that could have been a night that Rodigan would have walked away with a UK Cup Clash. Okay.
That was the 2008 clash.
Yes, I believe so. Yes,
mm-hmm. Because that's the one Squingy won. That was actually Squingy's last UK clash.
That's right. Yes, mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Rubber Ranks had to say, listen, this is the wickedest 1-for-1 I've ever been in. You know what I mean?
UK Cup Clash used to be the clash that everybody globally looked forward to. Mm-hmm. We had people come as far as from Russia. We had people from all over the world. And what was nice, because if you remember those days, we had CDs where you could buy your CD and DVDs. Mm-hmm. So we was working in conjunction with the one extra, So what used to happen, we used to microphone the old building.
Hmm.
So all the live sounds and all the forwards, you would get those. And listening to the CD or watching the DVD, it would make you feel as if you're actually in the venue itself. So yeah, that's how Reggae Girls came on the scene, and that's how the UK Cup Clash came on the scene.
Yeah, no, those days, because as I was telling you, when you listen to the CDs or you watch the DVDs, you'd hear that crowd sound so crazy. And what you said made sense because the microphones are all around. So you're hearing the four corners destroy in this place.
Yep. And like you said, the vibes, there wasn't a year that we lost that energy or the vibes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people, the sounds then would come and they would deliver. And you know when to deliver it because the patrons would you make them know they if you was going to get a boo, you're getting a boo. If you're getting your forwards, you would get your forwards.
Mm-hmm.
And what was great for me was that all those dinosaurs used to respect the event, and they would always take the event, and they would come and work hard to give a good performance. So UK Cup Clash had, you know, we even, if you remember, one year there was King Jammys there.
Yes, and the funny thing with that one there, Mataran was hosting it, and Face was playing King Jammys that time there.
Well, Face wasn't actually, Face turned upon the night, but it was a different selector that came, and Face flew in unexpectedly. And when they announced Adis, he walked out on the stage. So people didn't even realize that. I'm trying to remember the name of the selector that came. It was a Ras.
It was probably Kingpin, A1.
No, Kingpin wasn't a part of Adis then.
It wasn't A1 or Spooky or none of those guys?
None of those guys, no. It was none of those guys.
Neil Diamond?
No, it wasn't Diamond. If I hear the name, I'll remember. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But it was none of those guys. Long before those guys.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. I just remember that's the one Face showed up. That I do remember, even though Mataran was hosting.
Yes, that's right.
Crazy, because other series you did too was the Winner Takes All and the UK Rumble. How did you, even before that, was V Rocket in any of the UK Cup clashes?
No, we didn't. And what it is, Muscle, I think over the years, I think with me doing the events, I just used to keep the sound out of the clashing. The guys wasn't best pleased, but you know, I just felt that we're doing the event. It's a V Rocket event. We would still play on them, but we wasn't competing. So again, a part of the journey wasn't just about a part of the culture, the sound system culture. For me, it wasn't, or for the guys, them, so to speak, because it's a team. It wasn't about just promoting and doing events for V Rocket. It was helping to bring through other sound system, both UK and overseas, and that's important for us. That it's not just about us; it's about the entire cultural aspect of the sound system culture. You know, to work with as much sounds, right? Be them young, be them unknown, be them dinosaurs, right? We just want to be a part of the full cultural aspect of the sound system fraternity. So it wasn't about just ourselves. It was about working with as many sounds that we could possibly, you know, work with. Hence, what you're coming on to, Winner Takes All. Again, it was bringing through strictly UK sounds and giving them a platform that they may not have reached. And it wasn't about just winning UK, winning winner takes all and the prize money, but it would mean a journey where they would, if they win, they would go to UK Cup Clash. And then it came a time when I teamed up with Chin for them to go to World Clash.
In the Rumble series.
Right. Well, this was before the Rumble series. Chin had started the Rumble series in America before we branched it out globally. Okay. So what used to happen, the winner of Rumble in the US, I would take to UK Cup Clash. And the winner of Winner Takes All would go to World Clash and UK Cup Clash. So Winner Takes All was a huge prize. So they not only would win a trophy and the money for that competition, but it would also take them to UK Cup Clash and in some cases World Clash.
Big series.
So when you look at the volume of sounds over the Winner Takes All series going into the Rumble series, hundreds of sounds has been able to take part, Muscle.
It's crazy. The queen of culture, you understand. You build it, they will come. Have you ever been involved with Nottingham Carnival?
Notting Hill in London.
Notting Hill, yes.
No, not Notting Hill Carnival, but Nottingham Carnival.
Okay, so there's Notting Hill and Nottingham.
Yes.
Okay. So you're involved with Nottingham Carnival?
Yes. For about the best of 10 years, I assisted the Nottingham Carnival with their international lineup. So people like Beanie Man, Marcy Griffiths, Barrington, Josie Wales, Bushman, Lucci, so many of those artists have been able to book to perform at the Nottingham Carnival. Then obviously we took some time out, and obviously with the pandemic for 2 years there was no carnival, and then the return of Nottingham Carnival was in August of this year, and I managed to get Serrani to come and perform. So yes, there is a big community spirit as well when it comes to V-Rocket in the Nottingham community. We like to play a role where we help out the community where we can on a musical basis and in other community aspects.
Definitely. And that brings us to the documentary, a Sound System Dynasty. What was the thinking behind actually, we've been at the dances, yeah, you'd see the DVDs, you'd hear the cassettes, people would talk about it, you see the flyers and stuff. But what was the thinking to say, okay, let's make a documentary style out of this and present this to the world?
Well, how that came about, Parliament, who is my partner in the sound. He has a son. Belly the Selector is his son, but his older son, Marcus, left Nottingham and resides in the US. And for a number of years, Marcus has been saying to both myself and his dad that we should document the sound. He says, you guys are getting older. You've been doing this for so many years. It should be documented. Let's get it documented. Muscle is repeatedly keep saying it. And when you keep hearing the same thing over and over, there's going to be one day you're going to get up and take note and said, you know what? Marcus is absolutely right. So that just as the pandemic was starting, he spoke to me and I said, Marcus, you know what? You've been saying this for a long time. Let's do this. Let me know what you need me to do on my side, and let's get this. Let's make it happen. So massive credit to Marcus Orr, who is the producer and the director of the B Rocket documentary. Had it been for Marcus, it wouldn't have happened. Well, it wouldn't have happened now anyway. So massive respect to Marcus. I believe he's done a really good job of it. And the work that he's put in the time that he's put in, hats off to him. So just before the pandemic, he said, okay, I'm going to fly to Jamaica and start this off. And I said to him, hold on, Marcus, the builder for the amplifiers, the Rocket's valve amplifiers, the tube amplifiers, now is residing in the US. So how about starting with him first? So I made contact. Legs the Giant is now in his 80s. Legs is responsible for a lot of Birmingham sound. Jungle Man and many other sounds that he's built amplifiers for and preamplifiers before he left to the States and went to the States to reside. So he went and interviewed Legs at the beginning of the pandemic, and the plan was to travel to Jamaica. And I said, Marcus, be careful that you don't get stuck. Let's see what's happening with this pandemic. And then the travel restrictions came in. So everything was put on hold until the latter part of 2021.
Okay.
And that's when Marcus contacted me again and says, listen, restrictions have been lifted. Let's resume and get this documentary done. And he flew into the UK and did what he had to do. Flew to Jamaica, did a series of interviews, and the rest is there for you to see.
Definitely. And what I like, it's on Amazon, it's on Ubi, it's on streaming platforms. It's like YouTube is cool, but this is another level altogether when you go to Amazon and those type of places there to stream a sound system documentary that I've never seen or heard of before.
Well, again, Muscle, it was a stab in the dark. I think, like I said, we did the documentary so that not only for ourselves, for it to be documented, so in time to come, our children and our grandchildren and their children, it can see it's there. It's never going to go away, right? So it's documented. But not just that. We believe that other sounds, the sounds that should document. We should have our museum, our archive of our sound system culture globally. So there is a mark. So when you speak of the Adis and the LPs and the Matarans and the Bass Odysseys and the Killamanjaros and Saxons and all those great sounds, let's get them documented. The great sounds in Canada, let's get them documented. So our children in years to come, right? I would love to be able to sit and be watching other people's other sounds journey on these platforms. So it was a stab in the dark when it came to it getting on Amazon Prime. Marcus put it out there, and he contacted me and said, it just passed all its clean bill of health within 48 hours, which was unbelievable. It wasn't easy for me. I had a lot of work to do. Obviously, for those who hasn't seen the documentary, there's a lot of patois in there, so we had to sit and script everything that was said in an hour and a half. So we have the subtitles. So I think about 3 weeks after that, he contacted me and said, "I'm watching V-Rocket Dynasty on Amazon." I says, "Are you serious?" He said, "V, I'm sat at home watching V-Rocket Dynasty on Amazon Prime."
Crazy.
And I thought, wow, unbelievable. And the thing was, Mossa, with that I planned a premiere, a premiere showing at a cinema in Nottingham. My son has done some events there, so I thought it would be a good idea. This was before Amazon had taken it. So we said we're going to hire the cinema, 300 capacity, and we're going to invite people from the sound system fraternity in the UK and people in the music industry in general.
Mhm.
So we'd set the date and we sent out the invite. So before that date, it was 4 weeks before September the 11th that it was actually on Amazon. But we could not tell anybody because we didn't want people to sort of go straight to Amazon because we'd already paid for the cinema. We'd sent out the invites. So we just kept it very quiet and decided that we would make the announcement about Amazon Prime on the night of the first viewing. And that's what we did. And when the documentary finished, and we, told everybody, thanks for coming. And but can you please share it with friends and family? And if you want to watch it again, go to Amazon Prime. It was like, are you serious? Wow.
Yeah. That's big. It's a sound system dynasty. And what I like, it's like, even with you, your parents started it, you came and took over, and then even your son right now is involved. So this is a real dynasty. DJ Marles is your son, right?
Yes. DJ Marles is the youngest. But DJ Marles actually started when he was 10 years old.
Okay.
EC1 Extra. He had his own mix show. But DJ Marles, who was my son, he started out with Belly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to tell you too much because obviously we want people to go to Amazon Prime and rent it or purchase it to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But Miles started out with Belly. They used to do under 18 events. Mine was only 10 days to create their own little flyer. We would just go as adults to oversee things to make sure, everybody being good and stuff. And I could see then Marley was sent in a demo when BBC One Extra was setting up, and they took him on board. But over that period of time, I could see this talent in Belly. Belly is older than Marley.
Mm-hmm.
Marley was able to select and talk on the mic by himself. And I said to Parliament, I think it's time to put Belly, although he's still young, on the big sound.
Mm.
So the dynasty from a 50-watt sound system, 1964, and to current day, we're having this conversation, 2022, and to see that the team consists of another generation now. Marley took some time out with school and stuff, came back during the pandemic, and in full effect is doing events. You're going to be the first to know this. Is now actually starting a new platform, Muscle.
Okay.
Tomorrow, it's going to be launched, and this platform is called the New Generation hot clash. And this will just involve the DJs and sounds that really came about during the live stream when the place was locked down. And
Smart
these,
idea.
and these young kids have has got um following that is completely different to the sounds that are clashing today.
Mhm.
They are attracting the 16 to 18 to 20-year-old, and they're attracting them in numbers. And Marley believes, like myself, that the time is now where we get these young DJs involved in the clash scene to help the legacy to continue as far as the clash industry is concerned.
Mhm.
He wants to do a completely different format. He don't want them to over worry about cutting in terms of dub plates. He wants them to keep their style, to play the music that the young people are enjoying listening to. The dancehall stuff, the Afro beats, the grime, the hip hop stuff that they're listening to, that they like to listen to, and keep it on that lane where they don't necessarily have to be having to do the things that he's growing up see us doing in
Mhm.
trying to find the money to cut expensive dub plates. So he's starting that. The first one is going to be in December. It's not an overly big place, and he wants to just take time, build that brand, and get the young people who's not so much interested in the clash scene to introduce them to the DJs that they're following, and watch them compete.
That's pretty
So
smart. That's very smart.
the dynasty, hopefully can continue.
100% agree. I have two last questions here for you before I get you out of here. Yesterday, I just got a message at Claude, Super Claude from a freak had passed. And
Oh
I know
yeah.
a couple months ago, Corporal Billy from Love Injection has passed. Have you done any work with them in the past? Have any memories or anything with either Corporal Billy or Super Claude?
I've not done anything. We played many times with Love Injection. Um, Rest in peace to both iconic Claude. I used to come to the States and go and listen to our freak sound station. So when I heard the news, it was another sad day that another icon um, has passed. Billy, this weekend will be the first year anniversary.
Okay.
This coming weekend will be a year since the passing of Corporal Billy. Um, and we've played many a times together with Love Injection, with Corporal Billy performing. Corporal Billy will always be missed when it comes to the UK sound system fraternity and overseas, so to speak, because great MC.
Hmm.
So he'll always be missed, and it's a name that will always be remembered because he had that style, he had that delivery, and he was an excellent MC. So we will miss both him and Claude.
For sure. Definitely. Um, Earlier this year, the last World Clash happened in UK. How did you enjoy the very last World Clash that we're getting? And it happened on home soil. You understand? How did you enjoy it?
Oh wow, Master, that's a great one. Thank you for mentioning that because it was so hard. Um, I actually said to Chin, look, it's always been in the States. You did 2 years or so in Canada. Um, I look after things. How about let's do the last one in the UK? I think it would be well appreciated, and the fans are there. UK has that legacy, that clash legacy. Um, Nobody can take that away from the UK. The UK was the leading country for clashes.
For sure.
Yes, we went for a period where it wasn't happening, but UK was one of the leading countries when it comes to the clashing industry. So when Chin said, "Okay, Lady V, let's do it in the UK," I decided rather than putting it in London, we would take it to Birmingham at the O2 Academy. That's never had a clash event in that venue.
Okay.
Obviously, the pandemic cast a lot of doubts because I think it was 3 times we rescheduled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? People believed in it. We believed in it. It came a time that we wondered, was it still worth going ahead? But if people can hold on to, if 450 people can hold on to a ticket for 2 years, Muscle, it's got to be something that's going to be special.
Yes.
And special it was because we had the opportunity to honor, not only bring through those new names that was different from the Troopers and the Crowns and the Maturans and the Bass Odysseys, but to bring through the Mystic and the Climax and the Cold Reds and Speedy and Empire and those sounds, but to have the dinosaurs that we could honor for helping the growth over the years of World Clash was fantastic. I mean, watching it and being in the building, 2 different things. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I thank the fans for believing in the event. I thank the sounds for, sticking in there. And I thank all the dinosaurs that turned up on the night to receive their honors. I mean, not everybody was able to travel at the time, but we was able to do live link up with them, thanking Irish and Chin for their reward. And of course, to have them said no clash no nice without the messenger Lucci.
Crazy.
And Lucci was in the UK doing some tour, and I thought, for artists that looks after every sound when it comes to dub plates and make them affordable, he needed an award as well. And to ask him to be there, to be a part of the host, honest, these guys, nobody knew Lucci was going to be there. Lucci was a surprise package.
Mm-hmm.
So again, having that last World Clash in the UK and for the turnout and for the performance and everything for that night, what a curtain closer for the World Clash platform. And let me just put this straight, Muscle.
Okay.
Not the closure for Sound Clash.
Mm-mm.
Because over a period of time, people are getting this argument mixed up. But the closure for Irish and Chin's World Clash.
Mm-hmm.
What a closure that was in May of this year at the O2 Academy, UK.
It went out with a bang.
Went out with a bang.
Definitely. Lady V, I knew when Marcus reached out to me and said, hey, he sent me the documentary, I watched it, and I've been hearing your name for time. I said, I knew this conversation was going to be a great one, but I didn't know it was going to be this crazy. You understand?
Listen, Russell, thank you so much. You've, putting a face to the name, because I know you've been doing great things in the Canadian region that's gone out globally, worldwide. And thank you so much for the invite. Big up Flair, who does
Blair.
a great job. Um, Flair is assisting us with the promotional work for the V Rocket Dynasty documentary. So big thank you to Flair. Thanks to Marcus again for making it happen. And, thanks for all the people who have supported V Rocket over the years. And most importantly, have supported the culture. Because without the support, we would not be having this conversation. And we want to keep the legacy going. We want to keep the sound system culture going. So teamwork make the dream work, right? And, keep supporting the music, keep supporting the sounds, and let the legacy live forever.
Definitely. If there's anything you want to say, any information where they could book the song, if they could check out the documentary, leave the contact information, leave where they could see it, and all that good stuff before I get you out of here.
Okay, so it's V Rocket on Instagram. It's V Rocket International. All of it's pretty. We all have our own Instagram. Lady V Rocket International, DJ Mars V Rocket, Belly V Rocket. Email you can contact. It's vrocketsound@gmail.com. Or hook me up. My telephone. Most people know it's that easy to get Lady B's telephone number. I want that number for probably older than maybe older than my grandchildren. So yes, just link us up anytime. We're ready for Canada, man.
Definitely. We put it out there, the exclusive. Whoever's sorry, we put it out there. Whoever is watching this, they'll see V Rocket has never been to Canada in their how many years history has V Rocket been around?
Since 1964.
1964. That would make 11. That's 58 years. Okay. In your 58-year history, V Rocket has not been to Canada. Promoters, listen up. We got something right here. 58-year history.
Right. And Muscle, let me tell them this too. Not only we have a great juggling team, but the guys are ready for the battlefield.
Okay.
So the choice is yours. The battlefield is there for us to come and do the battle over in Canada, or a really nice juggling dances.
V Rocket, the only sound that goes to the moon.
The music.
You understand? Right. Let me give you an outro and get you out there, because this conversation, another one for the books.
Thank you very much, Muscle. Enough respect, my brother.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Muscle, and this has been another Two Line Music Hut's Entertainment Report podcast, and we are out. This podcast is brought to you by www.twolinesmusichut.com.